everybody, so we've got a fun review today because we're talking about Netflix's Wednesday. As someone who's a lifelong fan of the Addams Family, this series was one I was very much looking forward to. Wednesday Addams is my favorite member amongst all the Addams Family, so I was really intrigued to get a whole series revolved around the character, starring Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Addams, and the vision of Tim Burton. I mean, on paper, that sounds like a match made in heaven. To craft a fun, spooky series that's about to debut on Netflix, ironically, next Wednesday. It's unfortunate that it didn't debut around the Halloween time, instead right before Thanksgiving, but hey, at least it comes out on a Wednesday. This series follows Wednesday attending Nevermore Academy. As she adjusts to her new school, Wednesday quickly finds herself in the middle of a supernatural mystery that embroils her parents while also attempting to stop a monstrous killer terrorizing the local town. As the series' focus is around Wednesday and not the Addams Family in general, there was a little bit of hesitancy if Wednesday Addams could bolster an entire show on her own shoulders, because that is a very risky move to take one character out of an iconic family and give them an entire show on their own. But those doubts are immediately crushed once you watch the very first episode of the series, because the show is a very pleasant, fun, spooky experience. Wednesday does a really good job keeping things fresh while still keeping that familiar gothic comedic style the Addams Family characters are known for. One of the big things that really helps sell the series is the setting of Nevermore Academy. Once Wednesday is expelled and is sent to Nevermore Academy, it's such an interesting place to explore because it's such a tantalizing gothic Tim Burton style environment for all of the dark shenanigans that we're going to get up to over the course of this first season. As a setting, it felt very reminiscent of the boarding school from Chilling Adventures of Sabrina mixed with a little bit of Hogwarts from Harry Potter, which I know is a very weird mashup in your mind, but trust me, once you watch the show and you see all the stuff that goes down in this school between the classroom shenanigans and also just the fact that there's a lot of supernatural students involved of various different varieties, werewolves, vampires, sirens, you name it. It's a lot of fun, just the variety along with the great production design, because I think that is one of the best underrated aspects to this show, is creating that creepy atmosphere. There's also an added bonus to the fact that Morticia and Gomez used to go to Nevermore Academy, so it does allow Wednesday to explore this dark mystery within their backstory that's really fascinating once we get the full picture of it when it's revealed later on in the series. The series is at its strongest, though, once Wednesday begrudgingly settles into becoming a student at Nevermore, while also playing detective on the side. Because we learn very early on in the show, when it takes a dark turn, there's a monster going around in this town, brutally murdering people, which of course is something that fascinates someone like Wednesday Addams to get to the bottom of, compared to the normal boring routine of being at school. So there's a lot of dark secrets to uncover with the help of some of her classmates, along with Thing, because Thing is along for the ride too. I've always loved Thing as a character. I mean, he's just a hand, but he has so much personality for just being a hand. There's actually many scenes across the entire season where he's a quite big help into solving mysteries. Jenna Ortega is already one of my favorite up-and-coming actresses. I think that she gets better and better with every project that I see her in, so it's no surprise that she is also fantastic as Wednesday Addams, putting her own unique stamp on the character with such hilarious, macabre line delivery and deadpan expression, no matter whatever the scenario is in the season. They put her in perfect scenarios for that humor to shine through, whether it's the fact that she's dumping piranhas in the pool, arguing with pilgrims once again, which felt very reminiscent to the Addams Family movies from the 90s, or later on in their scenarios where she's disgusted completely by watching Legally Blonde. All of the comedic elements for her character over the course of the series are so sharp, and since she butts heads with basically everybody in the show, it does make for some entertaining, surprising showdowns, if you will, because there is some action thrown in here and there with some fencing and some other stuff I don't want to dabble into because it could be potential spoilers. Even if Wednesday Addams isn't a character that really emotes a lot per se, Jenna Ortega is still able to bring out a lot in the character, because Wednesday Addams is now the central focus to the story, so we're allowed to kind of have a deeper introspection to her feelings, and also just that she's developing friendships in her own unique way. And it's a really fascinating look at the character that we weren't able to really touch upon that much in the movies or any of the other shows, just because it's all about the family aspect and it's not just about Wednesday. I grew up in the 90s watching the 90s Addams Family's movies starring Christina Ricci as the character of Wednesday Addams, which is ironic because she is starring in the show, which I'll talk about her in a little bit. I think that this is another iconic turn for the character for a new generation, because Christina Ricci was kind of my generation's Wednesday Addams. I think Jenna Ortega is doing the exact same thing for this generation. Even though they don't have a large amount of screen time in the season, I adored the time that we did get with the rest of the Addams Family. Catherine Zeta-Jones and Louise Guzman are delightful as Morticia and Gomez. Gomez. They perfectly embodied the character in my eyes. They truly made the most of their limited screen time. I especially love the conversations that Morticia and Wednesday have over the course of this series, and they're not a big part of the season, which is unfortunate. So I hope if we do get a season 2 of the show, they are bumped up to main cast members along with Wednesday. And same goes for Fred Armisen as Uncle Fester. He's so lively and energetic and does a great job helping Wednesday with her murder mystery, but he has even less screen time than Morticia and Gomez. Pugsley was pretty fun too. We don't get a whole lot with him either. We do have a little bit of the dynamic between him and Wednesday, but it's nothing like you've seen in the films where she's constantly torturing him, because they are apart the entire season. The adult supporting cast for the series in general is very strong. Gwendolyn Christie as Principal Weems. She eats it up every time that she's on screen, battling wits with Wednesday. And as I mentioned previously, Christina Ricci is in the show as Miss Thornhill. She's been killing it lately. She's kind of having like a little bit of a career resurgence between this and Yellow Jackets. Every scene that she had, she was just awesome. There is that nostalgia boost there because I'll always know her as Wednesday Addams from my childhood, which made me smile even more anytime that she did share scenes with Wednesday Addams herself, Jenna Ortega. It almost felt like a little bit of a passing the torch kind of sense because both of them were great as the character. So iconic. I mean, Wednesday Addams is such a great character, but if I had to pick a top two, it would be these two actresses. With Tim Burton attached as both an executive producer and director, his direction is as good as you've come to expect, really setting the tone perfectly with the dreary, dark atmosphere that you'd come to love from Tim Burton films. It isn't overtly Tim Burton, it isn't over-the-top crazy Tim Burton like we've seen in recent years, and I think a part of that is the fact that he only directed about the first half of the season, which is kind of a bummer because his name is all over the marketing and advertising, but there are other directors that direct the other half of the season. But Tim Burton does lay a solid framework for the rest of the directors to follow. Even if the series never bored me, there were some aspects that I wasn't too fond of. One of the biggest ones is the teenage drama aspect. I get that that's the demographic you're going for, but they lean very heavily into it here, and I just don't think it ever clicked fully because you have this whole romance angle where two boys both have a crush on Wednesday, named Tyler, ironically, and Xavier, and I really just feel like it didn't add that much to the story. It's one of the overarching dilemmas over the course of the season that I really just found myself not having any interest in, along with Wednesday's roommate Enid having boy problems as well. The drama that Enid has where she isn't able to wolf out, and that's a struggle she goes through over the course of the series, that I found a lot more entertaining. When we focused on all of the boy drama, it's just not my thing. I'm sorry that I don't mind teen drama, but it has to be well executed. Out of all of Wednesday's small group of friends and acquaintances, Enid and Eugene were probably my personal favorites between all of them, mostly Eugene. Eugene was such a sweet, lovable character, and his love of bees was very endearing. And even if Bianca was looked at more as a rival to Wednesday in the series, she was pretty interesting too. They just didn't give her a whole lot of time to develop her character. I could definitely see everyone's mileage varying as far as the whodunit storyline, because it was compelling enough to follow the mystery that's unraveling and interconnect with other plot lines that are set up with Wednesday discovering psychic abilities and then thwarting a potential prophecy from coming true. I just wish the twists and turns along the way weren't that predictable. I love a good mystery, but I feel like a lot of the stuff here was telegraphed way ahead of time, because by the time they get to the big reveals in the last two episodes, you pretty much know who the culprit is, and the big climax that teased that Wednesday's preparing for all of the season, it was done in like 5 minutes, which was kind of a bummer and kind of a little bit underwhelming. There's certainly some things still left hanging in the balance by season's end to set up a potential season 2. I could certainly see the show getting one. I think it will have strong enough legs to get a season 2, but you never really know with Netflix. I do hope if we do get a season 2, we get more of the Addams family themselves. I know the show is called Wednesday, but Morticia, Gomez, and Uncle Fester, and the rest of the family. I suppose there is the possibility of Wednesday just continuously becoming a Sherlock-type character, going to another town and solving another murder mystery while other people are trying to murder her, which has an interesting format. I just don't know if necessarily you could do that again without the Addams family involved. All around, Wednesday is an enjoyable show that's a good showcase for the character. It's dark, it's spooky, and delivers a fun new iteration of the character in live action. Jenna Ortega knocks it out of the park, and if they play their cards right, which I hope Netflix does, you can see her continuously become more iconic as the seasons go on. But the series does come out November 23rd. It comes out next Wednesday. I know, Wednesday. Very very ironic. Good job, Netflix. But make sure you share your thoughts down below. What did you think of the series once you get a chance to check it out? Did you like the series? Did you not like the series? And also, share any thoughts or theories you may have on where we could go with a potential season 2. There's going to be a lot of fun in the comment section talking about the show with each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys. Always chat the reviews. I always do appreciate it. Make sure to like on the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. Some reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.